Hello, it's Sunday morning on the 8th of March and I'm sitting in the garden to make this little video. As you can see, I have my hat on because it is a beautifully warm and sunny day. The temperatures here are increasing by the day, even since the last time I did a recording, and it is, I would describe it as a very warm UK style summer day. Not too hot for me yet, but this afternoon, probably about 3-4 o'clock, it will get very, very hot. So we are getting to that stage. So by the end of March, it'll be just right for me to come back home to the UK, get used to some UK temperatures once again. I wanted to update you with a couple of things this time because, as you know, some of you, I have been working in what we call the observation room here in the clinic. That's where the nurse, the main nurse for that room is Shabnam, who is my trusty translator, as I call her, or maybe I should say interpreter, because translation is never direct, of course, it's always interpretation. And she works part-time in the mornings, and in the afternoon, Ziza, who again I've mentioned before in the past, he comes down from where she works, mainly in the gynecological section, to supervise the room. Days in the observation room can be quiet and they can be absolutely hectic. The main sort of things that she does, and I may well do an interview with Shabnam before we leave, although she's very shy. Her English is great, but it just goes to pot when I ask her questions on camera. We tried it once before, but we maybe try again. And in the observation room, and I can show you the room there on the video. A lot of the work is doing injections, doing tests such as blood pressure tests and diabetes sugar tests for diabetes. That's quite common in here. High blood pressure is also quite common. Then there's the ECGs and the nebulizer, and occasionally, not so much this time since I've been here, oxygen and giving oxygen to people. Drips, of course, and some people can be lying in here for 2 or 3 hours whilst they're receiving drips, and simply for recovery. Some people need to recover at different times from whatever's ailing them. We had an interesting case a few days ago when there was a major explosion in the electrical system of the clinic, and that knocked out a few circuits, including 2 of the sockets in the observation room. We've got 3 sets of sockets, and 2 of them were non-functional. One of which was on the ECG machine, and it blew the power supply, the transformer, the little transformer that they have, AC/DC transformer, so we were unable to use it. And we've been doing quite a lot of ECG measurements, testing recently for the doctors. I don't know why that should be. And so we were without that potential power for that machine for some days, and it was being used on its internal battery, and Shabnam was holding her breath each day to make sure, to hope that the internal battery was going to last, which it did. And the engineer has now supplied us with a new transformer, and the machine will be taken away tomorrow, I think, for a service, because the switch isn't working properly, and there's only Shabnam and me seem to have the technique for getting the switch just to work properly. But the other thing that's been happening over the last few weeks actually is we've had some some holiday time from a couple of the people in the pathology section, which has left them rather short-handed, and Shabnam and Aziza, as the nurses, are the only people who can go and back up for taking the blood tests and helping with the analysis that they do in the pathology lab. So a group which I don't often mention and is not often heard of, but is really, really important around here, is what we call the health workers. Now, there are 7 health workers. Bushra Sangeeta Tabisum, sorry Tabisum if you're watching this, Deepa, Nasir, Kapil and Rajesh are the 7 health workers. And what they do is during the day, they arrive in the morning, they have a little meeting as to what they're going to do, and then they go out into the local areas, the bastis as they call, around the factory and a little bit further afield, the primarily affected people. And they visit them in their homes and they talk to them, they give health information and support to the families in any way that is needed. They come back in the middle afternoon and have another meeting to see what they've been up to, and so the work goes on. I think this is really, really crucial work, particularly in an area where there is a high rate of illiteracy, and that means there's a certain amount of lack of knowledge, even amongst intelligent people. I was in the hairdresser, which is opposite Chingari, and the guy sitting in the chair when I went in, I had to wait for a few minutes, asked the hairdresser, who of course by now I know quite well, although he speaks no English, what I was doing here, and I heard the guy say Sambhavna, and the response from this chap in the chair was, "Where? What's that?" So he spoke some English reasonably well, so I was able to explain to him what Sambhavna was, how it was linked to Chingari, which he knew, of course, because that's on the main street. But he actually didn't know about Sambhavna Clinic and what it was there for and what it was doing. And that is less than a 10-minute walk away from here, still in what is called Kazi Camp, which is our postal area. So we still have some marketing and talking to people. But the interesting thing about the last few weeks is that the health workers are a backup for the observation room and for the nurse. When Shabnam or Aziza take some time off, for example, which of course they need, there's only 2 nurses, that doesn't really give much of a backup. So they've been coming in. Shabnam has been going to the pathology department to assist Mahendra and what's left of her staff, the biochemist I think is still there, and in that work. So has been away all morning. So I've had in with me in the observation room, one by one, all the members of the health workers team, which has been very nice actually, because although I've known of them and I've seen them, I've bumped into them, I've spoken to them, I've not really got to know some of them. And one funny thing happened. I heard some flute music and I thought, there's often music and sounds coming from outside, so I thought, oh, somebody in the garden or over in the main road is playing some really nice flute music. So I turned around to Rajesh after finishing a treatment and I said, "That's nice flute music coming from the garden." And he pointed down to the desk. It was from his phone, and he's a real fan of Indian classical music. So he was going to send me that particular track, a link to that particular track, so I could listen to it. But it's been nice getting to know all the different people. And I can't show you a picture on this, but I will put one on the face. If you're watching this on the YouTube channel, which is also called Bhopal Today, just like the Facebook channel, then you will need to go to Facebook page Bhopal Space Today, and you will be able to see pictures of all the team of the health workers. I put a couple of pictures up there. They wanted me to be in on one of them, so you'll probably see a picture of them and a picture of me with them. They've got a serious lot of work to do. When I went in to say, "Can I take some pictures of you?" Then they were like a bunch of school kids, really. And Bushra said, "Can I put on my makeup?" I said, "You don't need it, Bushra." So it was quite a fun and noisy session, and there were a few selfies taken as well. They love to have photographs, like everybody these days, on their own mobile phones. So that was an interesting little time. So that's a little bit about the health workers anyway. All go out in the morning with their crash helmets for their motorbikes. It's an essential requirement to getting around here and doing the work that they do. So It's really important work, and I just wanted to highlight that in a video because it's something that often is missed out when we talk about the clinic and the work that goes on in the clinic. This is, if you like, the the outreach program. Let's call it that. And I think in Europe we would call it an outreach program. Very important for healthcare, education, and particularly in a community which is a high rate of illiteracy and therefore lack of knowledge and awareness of what's going on. So very important. So thanks to all the 7 members of the health workers team in St Barbara for all the work they're doing. So I'll wind up there, go back, I'll put this up so that by the time you in the UK are up and onto Facebook and YouTube, it will probably be up there already, because of course we're 5.5 hours ahead of time in the UK, so it's very early morning yet on a Sunday morning, and some of you will be up and around and on your social media, I've no doubt whatsoever. Others will be a little bit more relaxed, and we'll see it later on. So lots of love. Got only 2 or 3 more weekends before I come back to the UK. I should be going to a couple of days in Jaipur, a couple of days in Delhi, and then I should be flying back on the 31st of March. So I look forward to meeting all my physical friends that I know in the UK very shortly. Bye for now from Ian.